You've probably noticed that at the end of most of these modules, we have an extension activity. It's an opportunity for you to take what we've talked about during the module and apply it in a little bit more complicated setting. When we're dealing with systems in the real world, that setting becomes linear programming. Linear programming allows us to set up parameters in real-world situations where we could use systems to give us possible outcomes and a better understanding for what's happening in the world around us. So today's linear programming assignment does just that. It allows us to take systems and kind of supersize them. So let's look at the system that we're working with here. First of all, it has 4 equations, not 2. We have 48x plus 48y is less than or equal to 384. 24x plus 48y is less than or equal to 336. Y is greater than or equal to 0, and x is greater than or equal to 0. So a few differences. We've already talked about how it has more equations than the systems we were working with. It also has larger numbers, and we have inequalities, not equations. So there's a few things that we need to do. We need to kind of think back to how we worked with inequalities, make sure we know how to graph them, and we'll probably want to apply several different solution strategies to this one problem. I'll give you a hint. When working with this one, it's probably going to be easier to graph it kind of right away so that you can simply work with the graph as your solution. Once you have your graph, then you'll be able to answer the few questions on your worksheet. When it says graph your constraints, the constraints are simply the inequalities that define your system. So those 4 math statements. When it asks about feasible, feasible just means that it's a realistic possibility. We have maximum and minimum information. That's something that you can just look at the problem and see, okay, what's the maximum or the biggest value compared to the minimum or the smallest value? As you go through and answer these questions, some of them are going to be a little bit more obvious than others. But like I say, we're dealing with an extension activity, something that's supposed to stretch you a little bit, get you thinking. I do not expect these extension activities to be easy. I also don't expect you to get every single answer correct. But we do provide answer keys so that you can look them up and kind of work backwards. You can always email me and I can help you individually with any questions that you may have. So dive in, start graphing, and see what you can do with this particular system.